Yanban.
The Yanban, the two sides, right? So in the same way you've got people lined up in front of the palace, you have two different exams. You have the Mun Hua exam and the Mu Hua exam. Mu is military, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Mu Hua exam had two parts to it, a written part and a shichan, a practicum. And the practicum included horseback riding, archery, horseback archery, hand-to-hand combat, and spear fighting. And so you had to show your proficiency in all those areas of combat to pass the Mukwa exam. The Mukwa exam, we don't have good numbers on it. We think somewhere around 200,000 people passed, a lot more. And more passed at times of national crisis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously, because you need more officers during that time. So Korea was very good about keeping a balance between its Munhwa and Mukwa. Koryo was not. The Koryo dynasty lost the ball game because they were gradually becoming more Confucian, and there is a strain of Confucianism that is anti-military. And the anti-military strain of Confucianism got to be quite strong in the early Koryo, and these Confucian officials started making fun of the military. And one Confucian official, he was actually the grandson of Kim Bu-shik, the man that wrote the Samguk Sagi. This man started making fun of the military men, calling them dummies, etc. And he took his cigarette lighter out.
Lit his
Lit his beard on fire.
And set his beard on fire. Well, you don't spit into the wind, you don't step on Superman's cape, and you don't set a general's beard on fire. Because he's going to come back and get you. At the next outing, this occurred on an outing of the king going out to the tombs. On the next royal outing going out to the tombs, what did these military officials do?
They killed all the
They
scholars.
came riding out of the hills crying, "Death to all civilian scholars. Death to all civilian officials." And they took over the government in this military coup that functioned like a bakufu. What's a bakufu?
Chinese military.
Japanese military. A Japanese takeover of the government by the military. How long did the Japanese military take over the Japanese government?
For a long time.
1,000 years. All of the dynasties after the Heian period in Japan
We're
are
showing it.
military dynasties. They're called bakufu, not dynasties. And the military were the ones that had control, and they would pass the authority down from father to son just like a dynasty would. They left the emperor as a figurehead on the side and didn't change the emperor's bloodline. But the real power was in the hands of the military. Well, Korea had a bakufu for 80 years, not 1,000 years. And it was called the Che military uprising. The Ches were not the first. There were three. There was a Chung and an Yi and a Hyun, I think, if I remember right. Three generals that killed each other off in assassinations after 2-3 years each. And finally a Che guy killed off the last guy, and he took over. And he was able to pass the authority to his son for the next 8 generations. So, no, that couldn't be right. It was 80 years. It had to be 5 generations. I'm sorry, 5 generations. The Che family was in control of the government. What brought an end to the Che family control of the Korean king? The Mongol invasion.
Mongol invasion.
And when the Mongols came over, the Che family had to resign, and the Mongols told the king what to do. So to be a Koryo king was not the best thing in the world. Okay, well, that's apropos of the military. And the military got out of hand during the Koryo period, but during the Chosun period, they kept the military in good control. And one of the ways they did it was to make sure that the military got their piece of the pie. And what they did, for example, was there are 250 counties in Korea. Half of them are designated as military counties. That doesn't mean that they had army bases there. It meant that the military man would be the county magistrate. In other words, they allowed military men to have civilian authority in addition to military authority. And this was enough to keep the military happy and in line and to give them a piece of the pie. And it worked out very successfully throughout the whole Chosun period because they learned from the mistakes of the Koryo period. Okay, that's the military exam. And then there's what's the next exam? I pulled it up
Civilian
a second.
exam.
The technical exams, right? The technical exams included 5 different technical areas of government. What are they?
Oh, you said this
Oh, religion.
Or
Finance.
Finance? No. Well, accounting, yes. Accounting, yes.
before. Social services.
No.
Ah.
No social
I
service.
remember the day we did it was in the.
It was welfare, food stamps, and library. No, it wasn't. It was the divisions of the technical areas were accounting, law, medicine, science, and translation. And it's interesting because I like to make a comparison to the prestigious, high-paying jobs in our society today, which are medicine, law, accounting or business, and science, and translation, which doesn't quite get up there. Everybody else makes money, but translators don't.
What were those 16 games?
Depends on what kind of translation.
Accounting, law, medicine, translation.
Doesn't it?
Name a translator that makes a lot of money.
Chinese translators.
Of a best-selling novel, maybe. There's no big bucks in translating.
What about church translators?
What if
They
you're
don't
like
make a lot of money.
5? Don't you translate
The 5 areas again are law, medicine, accounting, science, and
Really?
translation. What does science mean?
They make a big fuss.
There were 2 kinds of science. Astronomy was one. What was the other? What?
Alchemy.
No, math might be under
Traditional.
accounting.
Alchemy.
Traditional construction.
They didn't really get into alchemy here.
Dang it.
Like roots.
The Taoists in China really got into alchemy, but they didn't get into alchemy here.
That'd be in the medicine.
So there's astronomy, and
Roots and herbs.
if it's heaven, it's earth. It's
Geology.
Geomancy.
I wasn't gonna guess that.
So to be a good geomancer or to be an astronomer would make you a scientist. Now, there was a social class attached to each of these exam systems. The true Yangban would take the civil exam and hope to get a civil position and be high-class officials. And there was a statement that if you didn't have someone in your family line pass the exam within 4 generations, you were dropped from the aristocracy. It's not true. We have records of families that had someone pass in the early part of the Joseon dynasty, and then no one passed again until right at the tail end of the dynasty, which means they must have maintained Yangban tradition through all that time, and then finally someone else passed the exam. And you hear people say there are the 10 Sangnom surnames, the 10 low-class surnames, but every one of those supposed low-class surnames have people that pass the exam, so that's not true either. So to pass an exam made a person a Yangban, just no question about it. Because if you passed an exam, you'd be eligible for a government job. If you've got a government job, you get a government stipend. If you have a government stipend, you have wealth, you have power, you have prestige. To be a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant or a scientist had only minimal prestige. They were considered almost servile to the Yangban class. And some people criticize the Confucian system in this regard because they say, look how you held down those who could really help the society to prosper, to invent and do things, And so that's one of the criticisms of Confucianism. I was asking our Chongson about criticisms of Confucian right now, and he has good responses to every one of them. That Confucianism, if you look at it as a failed system, it's a failure. There's failed aspects of it. But if you look at it as, a successful system and as a personal system, there are successes to be found. Okay, so that's the examination system as a support system for the whole traditional Confucian society. Okay. Now, one final thing is it's obvious that this emphasis on scholarship, this emphasis on passing the exam, carries over to modern Korea. You just see it all over the place. Oh, I didn't tell you the answer to the question about coming in here, the gate out there. What was the name of the gate? Yok. Yeah. What does yok mean? The yok is the yok of Yokshi. What's Yokshi?
Typical.
Not really. What's Yokshi?
Of course.
Yokshi. Yokshi is also. Yokshi.
It's not the same yoke as in the
No. different York from the York side. Yokshi is also. And the center character is yak, meaning
Medicine.
Shurgur yak. The yak of umak. Umak is the joy of sound.
Like Oda.
And orak is recreation, to play and have enjoyment. Yak is pleasurable. So also pleasurable. What's also pleasurable?
Learning.
The first line of the analects. You know the analects?
Yes.
These are these simple question answer things where it says Confucius say this or this. We always joke about it, Confucius say, because it's very church, but that's what it says. Confucius said. What does Confucius say? Well, it's in response to a question. Somebody asked a question and Confucius said. Well, the first two lines of the analects say, what is more pleasurable than to greet a friend who comes from afar? And also, what is more enjoyable than to study? Also enjoyable. See? But once in a while, when I tell them about Korean poetry, it clicks, it works. They listen and it grabs them. And poetry is a wonderful thing. It can grab you, it can steal your heart, it can tell you messages that you can't get anywhere else. But you have to be ready for it. You have to be open to it. You have to listen. And you have to feel. And it doesn't always work. Once in a while we've been here and it's worked and it's been magic. And I just get up and chills run down my spine because it worked. And so I don't know if it'll work here, but let's try. That's a good setup for you.